It is official. Aaron Glenn has made a change at the quarterback position, and it will be veteran Tyrod Taylor who takes the field as New York starting quarterback next week in Baltimore against the Ravens right here on NY Flight Jets Talk. We do a deep dive into Glenn's decision. Was it the right choice? Was it too early? Was it too late? All of that and much more coming up here on a Monday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, joined by the great Michael Nania of Jets X Factor, baby. Let's go.
This is NY Flight Jets Talk with Connor Long. NY Flight Jets Talk. We're talking Jets. NY Flight Jets Talk with special guests. NY Flight Jets Talk. Here's your host, Connor Long. Jets.
What is going on, New York Jet fans? Hello, everyone. Welcome back here into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk as we come to you guys live right here on this Monday evening, November 17th, 2025. Be sure to drop down below, smash the like button, hit subscribe, completely free, and it helps us grow significantly right here on the program. Questions, comments, thoughts, throw all of those in the chat. We'll get to those. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. We appreciate your support, as always, right here on NY Flight Jets Talk. And joining us right now, my colleague over at JetsXFactor.com, the one, the only, Michael Nania, gracing us with his presence right here on the program. Michael, it is great to be with you, my friend, and I'm awake. That's all I have to say. I mentioned it on yesterday's show. Nania was supposed to join us on Friday, but me being the inconsiderate loser that I am, I slept past the alarms that I had set because I was tired. I needed a nap, and I left Mr. Nania hanging, but he is kind enough to give me a second chance because, man, it was rough for me on Friday, and I apologize formally to you, Mr. Nania. Oh, I think you're muted. I think it's on the StreamYard end. I could try to unmute you.
Okay, I'm
Talk
good.
now?
Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
All right. So apology accepted. I guess I just had to kind of go like Aaron Glenn, just like he gave Justin Fields a second chance. I'm going to give you a second chance. The only advice I think I would give is that I think if your alarm were that sick intro song, I think you would have definitely woke up immediately. That's my first time hearing that. I was kind of rocking out to that. Who made that intro?
I appreciate it.
Fire.
The great Gator McCluskey, who also made this very clip of us sharing the stage on the Jake Asman show together. Mr. Nania. Gator McCluskey, Michael, who is known for creating all those videos, has just texted me what appears to be an AI-generated picture of you. Any thoughts on this creation from Gator McCluskey?
I think that's an absolute abomination. That's my thoughts. I think it's detestable.
Gator McCluskey is pleased with his discovery there. He thinks he nailed it. You still haven't changed your mind on that clip?
I haven't. But you know, the song we're talking about, an original creation there. So
I appreciate it.
I'll have to. It's a good hook. I might have to like write a verse to it, and then we have like a complete song. We could submit that to the stations. You know, that could be your lead single for the Flight Talk album or mixtape.
Hell yeah, there we go. Appreciate it. And it's great to be with you for the second time this year. The last time we spoke was the day after the Jets had traded for Jarvis Brownlee Jr. After the Jets' Week 3 loss. We thought 0-3. Could it get any worse than this? It continued to stagnate. And then the Jets get 2 wins and back to losing on Thursday night to the Patriots. That was the final straw for head coach Aaron Glenn. Michael, Justin Fields officially to the bench. Your initial thoughts on the Jets' decision to turn to Tyrod Taylor ahead of their Week 9 matchup?
Yeah, it's definitely the right decision, both in terms of, you know, trying to win games right now, which is always going to be the coaching staff's mindset, regardless of, you know, Jets fans know that the team is building for the long term. Coaches always want to win the next game, and in that respect, it's the right move. And it's always also important for the long term because I think just having a more traditional kind of quarterback who you can trust to play the drop back passing game, who is going to be aggressive down the field, he'll give you better opportunities to evaluate the young receivers that the Jets have many of, especially multiple guys that they just traded for, who you want to see get opportunities at the catch point, so you could learn where they are in their development in terms of drops, contested catches, all those things. So I think both short and long term, it's the right decision. But I did also think, as part of my initial reaction, that it does feel like at this point it's a move that's being made because Aaron Glenn's hand is being forced, and that if you didn't do it at this point, then it just
Yeah.
gets egregious. So I would have liked it more in terms of from an Aaron Glenn perspective and evaluating him as a head coach. I would have found it more uh, inspiring or promising, I guess, if he did it last week after the Browns game, despite winning, or if he did it after the Broncos game in London. And I know he did it at halftime against the Panthers, and then Tyrod had his injury. But I'm trying to evaluate Aaron Glenn from the lens of what signs can we get that this can be the head coach who's going to anchor this team to sustain success for years to come, like some of the model franchises in this league. So it's hard to do that from a win-loss perspective because they just don't
Mhm.
have the talent. They didn't coming into the year. Now, especially after the trade deadline, wins and losses, point differential, all that is going to be hard to come by for Aaron Glenn. So it's tough to evaluate him from that lens, but I'm trying to look at his decisions and his process from, an independent
Mhm.
standpoint within what he can control. And with this quarterback decision, I feel like by doing it earlier, there was a chance for him to really show that, okay, there is accountability in the room, regardless of quarterback or long snapper or $40 million or practice squad. A chance to show that accountability and to make the statement that he's going to make the changes that maximize their chances of winning. I think we all understood as soon as the Broncos game, when you had -10 passing yards, that
Yeah.
that Tyrod Taylor was the best chance for this team to win games, and he kind of let it drag on a little bit longer than was ideal. So at this point, it's the expected move, but it's also not necessarily something that I'm going to praise too much because I think he missed the window to where it would have been an impressive proactive move from my perspective of evaluating Aaron Glenn individually.
Well said. And I not only think it's important when it comes to the evaluation of Glenn, but I think the rest of this offensive talent on the roster, because Justin Fields can't get these guys the football. You turn on the
Yeah.
All 22 film, you see Mason Taylor streaking downfield, playing and play out. Justin Fields is unable to get the ball to him. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, Nania, that Tyrod Taylor is Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff by any measure, but he's willing to take chances. He is willing to push the ball downfield and not be scared and not be worried about throwing an interception. Take the game against the Panthers, that deep shot to Josh Reynolds in the end zone that was ultimately picked off on a great interception, but he's a guy who's gonna, push the ball downfield and take chances and be able to integrate these receivers into the game plan week in and week out. And someone in his first game as a Jet who was targeted, I think, a fair amount of times was AD Mitchell, and it was kind of an up and down performance for him. That contested catch opportunity that I think Justin Fields, the ball, he put it up as best as he possibly could. It was still kind of one of those 50-50 opportunities where you have to go and make the play if you're a receiver. Would have been for over a 40-yard completion. Fell out of his hands. Fields missed him on a handful of occasions. He had that nice slant within the 10-yard line. We both kind of went very in depth on Mitchell when he was first acquired by the team in articles for us over at JetX. How would you assess his performance against New England, and how do you kind of want to view his role in this offense in the weeks moving forward?
Yeah, it was an interesting debut because I think it really summarized his entire profile coming over. We
Yeah.
saw the separation was great. He
Mhm.
got plenty of targets. I know, like we're saying, starting Tyrod's going to give them a better chance to evaluate this guy or these receivers, but we are coming off one game where Justin Fields actually did for once give them some chances. Some of his throws weren't good, but the targets were there
Mhm.
for Mitchell. So it was a similar story. The separation was great down the field, but sometimes his quarterback missed him. That's what happened with Anthony Richardson with the Colts. And when the ball was catchable, he wasn't coming up with it. Even the first catch he made, again, great separation on that slant in the red zone, but kind of hit him in the face, and he still came up with it. But yeah, then like you said, the go ball, that was a great throw. We can't, knock Justin Fields for that. Was it perfect? No, but it was like a 9 out of
Yeah.
10 throw. You got to catch it. And then there was the out and up or the wheel route, whatever you want to call it, That
Hmm.
one should have been out in front. You're talking about with his speed, maybe that's a breakaway touchdown. Not a good throw at all. But at the same time, it was a chance to make an impressive catch that he didn't take advantage of. So, and then there was the one later that, it was thrown pretty hard, but it went right through his hands. You got to catch it. So, yeah, it kind of was a microcosm of his profile. He's a great separator. He's extremely explosive, just fast athlete on the field, translating that 40 time, all that stuff to the game action. You can see it, but with the Colts, he had trouble with contested catches, with drops, and then also the quarterback just not hitting him sometimes. And we saw all of that in his first game with the Jets.
As it pertains to the defense, Nani, after they had, a historically bad start to the year, they bounced back in recent weeks. They significantly lowered their points per game allowed. And I think it's safe to say they didn't have their best performance against New England. And I wrote this up for JetX, kind of what is the main reason behind their defensive struggles on Thursday night. And I think Steve Wilks is to blame in a few areas. But I think a lot of fans need to be a little more lenient on Steve Wilks as it pertains to the performance on Thursday night from this unit, because let's keep in mind and let's look at what he is dealing with when it comes to personnel. It is slim pickings. You're looking at a four-man rush at times that contains Tyler Barron, Michael Clemens, Jawan Briggs, and Harrison Phillips. Like, that's just not a formula to win football games and dominate defensively, especially when you're going up against a front runner to be the league's MVP in Drake May. So I think there are certainly areas that Steve Wilks needs to clean up when it comes to him being a coach and him continuing to evolve as a play caller every single week. I think the biggest thing is overall for Wilks is I think he needs to take off man coverage a little bit. I know this was an issue earlier on in the year, but the Jets are running man coverage on 45.1% of their defensive snaps, the third highest rate in the league. And now when they drop back to zone on third down, they have been far more effective play in and play out. I just think that's the schematic stubbornness that we have seen hurt this team, whether it comes from the head coach in Aaron Glenn. We've seen it from Tanner Engstrand at times with Justin Fields, but I think the most glaring example of it has been with Wilks on defense. So overall, there are areas where Steve Wilks can improve, but let's keep in mind he was dealing with no defensive line at all when it comes to his personnel, and a cornerback room that consisted of Jarvis Brownlee, who allowed over 75 yards in coverage and committed 3 penalties, alongside Quantez Stiggers, Brandon Stevens, who's played pretty well recently, and Tony Adams playing safety. So I think it's time that, fans lay off Wilks a little bit, Nania.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nuanced thing for the rest of the season here, because as low as the expectations already were with, they had defensive holes to start the season, but now you remove Sauce and Quinn, and it's pretty low expectations with this defense, especially when they play the tougher games at the back end of the schedule, like New England, in comparison to the previous teams they were playing. So you got to keep that in mind. But at the same time, I think there are ways to evaluate the coaching that can still happen. It's not as strong as, the talent is poor, so you're off the hook for anything. It's not that strong, but it's also not everything is their fault, because you do have to cut them some slack for the talent or lack thereof on the field. So like you said, yeah, I think Wilks, the predictable third down play calling was really exploited by the Patriots. They found a lot of easy answers on third downs by exploiting, using man beating route concepts, especially like how many times was the flat wide open.
Yeah.
And, part of that is because they don't have the greatest DBs on the field right now, but it's also because they were calling favorable routes that made sense for what the Jets were calling, because it's easy to predict what Steve Wilks calls. So he can improve in that area. But at the same time, it is, they played well against the Browns. They played well against the Panthers, but you play a good team like the Patriots, and it really gets exposed how little depth they have in the 4-man rush. And, Jarvis Brownlee, for all of his promise early on, has now had back-to-back really rough games here. So he's got to bounce back. So, yeah, the defense, from a roster perspective, the defense is a lot further behind the offense. I know the offense looks poor too, but that's mainly because of the quarterback issue. But they have pieces on the offense between the O-line, Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor. We'll see what happens with Breece Hall. But defensively, that's where the quantity of holes are that need to be filled by the picks that they've accumulated. moving forward, primarily.
Oh, sorry. So it's bad connection there on Wi-Fi. Sorry about that pause. You got me coming through okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what that was there. And when you look at the draft board, Michael Nania, because a lot of people are already worried about a tank, and we haven't even reached, the final 3 or 4 weeks of the year where the tank typically picks up. Fans are watching the draft board every single week. And after Sunday's slate of games, the Jets did slide down the draft order a noticeable amount. They're now slated to pick fifth overall behind the Tennessee Titans, New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, and New Orleans Saints. How are you evaluating these final games of the year? How are you approaching it as a fan? How are you watching these games? I know you wrote a column about this for JetX. What is your approach to these final games of the season as fans continue to monitor Tankathon?
Yeah, it's a really interesting kind of back and forth this year. I think it's a lot different than 2020, where I don't want to say it was unanimous, but it was a pretty strong lean towards, fans were welcoming that tank because we wanted Gase out. Darnold kind of had, it felt like he had run his course by that point because he was regressing. Trevor Lawrence was the man. He's one of the best prospects of all time, or at least that was the hype. So fans were kind of all in on that. And by this point, the Jets still hadn't won. They were 0-10 versus they already have 2
Yep.
wins here. So it's a lot different than that. And there isn't a Trevor Lawrence. The Jets have enough picks to kind of reduce that desperation for a quarterback. You'd like to get one without trading up, but in the event that they can't, they do have the picks to fall back on. And you have a first-year head coach who is going to return, as opposed to a lame duck and Adam Gase. So you kind of do want to see him start to show something, win some games, as they've started to do with those 2 games. But you'd like to see some more, especially against quality teams, to really learn. Like I said, from the lens of evaluating Aaron Glenn, if you can get some wins against quality teams here, that definitely inspires some confidence. Like, okay, this could be a coach that anchors sustained winning. That's why it does have some value to win games here, even if it doesn't push them to the playoffs. But yeah, I could see the perspective on both sides. I think New England game, every Jets fan should have wanted them to win that one because you're looking for a 3-game win streak and beat the Pats in primetime and their win streak. That was an opportunity to make a real statement, and they couldn't do it. But now it puts them in an interesting perspective going forward. I can understand if you want to tank, get the quarterback here. I can understand if you want to see more wins. I'm kind of just looking at it, just seeing what's happening, evaluating, not really rooting for the tank because I just don't see anyone that's truly worth it. And then also, I wouldn't say wins are going to make me, do backflips for Aaron Glenn yet, because, the team just isn't there for them to compete at this point. The majority of the players who are going to lead this team to hopeful playoff pursuits in the future, the core players, probably aren't on this team yet. So from that perspective, I think it also warrants patience before celebrating wins too much. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle, just kind of watching what happens, evaluating it, and trying to understand what that means for them moving forward.
When it comes to the future of the quarterback position, would you be okay? Let's say their guy is not in this year's draft. We've heard a lot of buzz about Fernando Mendoza. We've heard a lot of buzz about Ty Simpson. Let's say Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn sit down. Their guy isn't in this year's draft. Would you be okay with them going after a cost-effective, cheaper bridge guy in free agency and then waiting until 2027 to take that quarterback and go all in on their long-term guy then? Or do you want them to take a quarterback no matter what with their premium assets in this year's draft?
Yeah, I really think it comes down to their evaluations of these prospects, and if they think that whoever might be available to them, whether it's trade up or at their pick, wherever they land, if they fit their scheme, their vision, and all of that. Because I think my strongest opinion on this is that I don't think it's a must that they should wait till 2027. I think some people believe that, the Jets have 2 wins right now. They're struggling. Offense looks terrible. You have to punt till 2027. That's the stronger class. Well, that's what people think, but we never know 2 years out. They have more picks that year. Build up the roster and then get him that year. I think preferably you would love to just take the guy this year, because I think the supporting cast and offense, like I just alluded to, is a lot better than it looks based on how the offense is
Mhm.
playing, because you have 2 first-round tackles who are progressively playing better and better. You have a star young wide receiver 1. You've, I think, a tight end 1 in Mason Taylor, who doesn't have the greatest numbers because the Jets quarterback situation, but he's
Yeah.
playing really well. So you have all these pieces. There are a few holes to fill. Interior offensive line, you'll have a couple free agents.
Mhm.
Got to see what you're doing at running back, but so
Yep.
it's not perfect, but they have the cap space to fill those holes. They have extra draft picks. I don't think this is the situation where it's such an awful,
Yeah.
hellscape to throw like 2018 Jets with Sam
Yeah.
Darnold, to where you have to skip and build it and wait. I think they have the offensive pieces. It's on defense where this roster is really weak, but quarterback wise, I think it's ready for a rookie to step in. And I believe in Tanner Engstrand to handle a rookie quarterback as well. So from that perspective, I think you would really love to get him this year. It's just you still shouldn't force it just for the sake of, rushing that pick if you really don't like these prospects. But I think they should
Yeah.
strongly lean towards doing it this year as long as they feel really good about whoever is available to them.
Yeah, and I've spoken about this for multiple weeks. I'm not saying the Jets are a quarterback away, but the
Right. Yeah.
infrastructure that they have on offense for a quarterback to now come in and develop with right out of the gate is certainly more promising than the other teams who are going to probably take a quarterback high. The Dolphins, potentially the Browns, the Saints, teams like that. Who are just barren. They have no offensive
Right. Yeah.
line, minimal pass catchers, no tight end. Like that's a situation that's like 2020 Jets where it's pretty much just trial by fire, and whoever the rookie is, they're just gonna go in there and get killed. Now, staying with the topic of the draft here, Nania, I'll give you this. I'll give you a fun one to close us out right here on this show. Where do the Jets end up picking in the draft order, and who do they select?
I think in typical Jets fashion, and some fans might be okay with this because there could be some quality wins that come with it. I think it's going to be, I'm going to say sixth. I think they're going to pick sixth.
Okay.
I'm going to give them, I think they're going to win 5 games. They're going to get 3 more down the stretch here. They'll land at sixth because they're in the middle of a pack, strength of schedule, tiebreaker wise. Some teams are a lot worse, some are a lot better.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to say sixth. And who do they end up picking? I guess on the spot right here, I'm going to say Ty Simpson. But
Yeah.
that's
I
just
was gonna
that's
say
just right off the
Fernando,
top of
but
my head. I think
yeah.
Mendoza will go first to Saints, Browns, whoever it might be, and Jets will get Simpson. But that's right now. That's subject to a lot more watching film, just letting all this play out. It's November 17th, but I'll
Yeah.
go with the number 6, Ty Simpson to the Jets as of right now.
I mean, it's like this team continues to lower the bar every single year. We're talking about draft earlier and earlier
Yeah.
every single season. Like the season was over if you really think about it. In essence, statistically, when it comes to playoff odds, the season was over before Columbus Day. Like if you really
Yeah.
think about it in that way, like being 0-3, being 0-4, like at least last year the Jets started 2-1. There was like a
Yeah.
reason for hope with Rodgers. Like we were already talking playoffs at 2-1. This year it feels like the season never started. That's like an opinion that I've had for some time now.
Yeah.
It feels like the season never really got underway because they they started 0-7. Like and I was telling people by the time they were 0-5, it was like it's not even gonna feel good when the Jets win a game now. Like it felt good when they beat Cincinnati, especially in the way of which they did it. But like 0-5, like how much does a win really matter? So
Right.
in
Yeah.
that sense, it's been such a disappointing year. And the thing that has frustrated me so much is Aaron Glenn sold this fan base the whole vision of, oh, we may not win 11, 12 games, but we're going to be in every game. We're going to be competitive. We're going to be disciplined. We're going to be polished. We're going to keep the chains moving. And then after the trade deadline, he just steadily walks those comments back. So,
Right. Yeah.
wait, I mean, where does this rank for you among I don't want to say most disappointing because last year I think is the most disappointing
Oh
season
yeah.
that you and I have both watched by far. But relative to the expectations that Aaron Glenn set this offseason, not coming on here and promising utopia, but raising the expectations through the roof, kind of where does your frustration rank among Aaron Glenn, and kind of how do you spread that out throughout the organization as to who's to blame for the start?
So I think where does it rank among underwhelming Jet seasons? Well, I think, like you said, those early season games it's so important to just get like
Yeah.
one of them because even if you get
Exactly.
one,
Like, if they
like
started
that,
1-3, if they won the first game of the year and they lost
yeah,
for, like
yeah,
if they just came out and imagine that and the way that game played out too, if Xavier Gibson didn't fumble the ball and they just won that game, it didn't matter if they lost the next 3 and they started 1-3, like,
yeah,
we'd
yeah.
still be riding the high of beating Aaron Rodgers at home, winning in week 1, yeah.
Yeah, that getting that one win early is so key to just it gives you hope that you can kind of ride for a while. Because even if you get to 1-5, there are teams that have come back from that.
Yep.
Like the Ravens are probably about to do it. Not that the Jets are the Ravens, but there's a precedent to go off of to where it's like, okay, we do have a chance. But when you just let it slide from the beginning, it feels like you never had a chance. Like you said, I felt like it was over at halftime of the Bills game. That is when I was like, oh, all right, I think this is not the team we thought it potentially could be. But um, so yeah, I don't know because like the fact that the bar was so low made it
Yeah.
so I think compared to there were other Jet seasons where you expected a lot more and it was a different type of frustration. But this season really just disappointed me because I did not expect a lot, and for the most part, they still haven't come close to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to rank it from that perspective, but yeah, in terms of Glenn and spreading it around the organization, I mean, a lot of it does fall on him. A lot of it falls on, I would say, less Muji and more so just the
Yeah.
fallout of the preceding years of management from Joe Douglas, and now they're just kind of like suffering the pain of that, and deciding to go the route of punting this season really and
Mhm.
going long term. So I think it's a byproduct of that approach as well, which the biggest part of that was the trade deadline moves. But even prior to that, the offseason they had was not
Yeah.
very aggressive towards, maximizing this roster for the short term. It was more like kind of economical. So I would say it's a combination of those two things. But yeah, it would have been nice to have an early season win
Yeah.
just to kind of give you that semblance you know, of hope because there was no hope
Yeah.
really at any point outside of
Yeah.
the first game that was pretty competitive. Although they were up against the Bucks with a
Mhm.
couple minutes left. Will McDonald for a couple minutes there gave us some hope.
Oh, Michael, super fun show. Thank you for joining us as always. You got any final thoughts here before we close the show out?
I'm ready for Ty God. I'm ready. The experience.
Is
I don't
that what
think
we're
he's the
calling
most
them?
fun backup in the world. I think that goes to Jameis Winston. He just
Yes.
continues to be pure entertainment. But
Cinema.
I'll take Tyrod. I've always been a fan. I remember back in what was it? 2017. I was like pounding the table for the Jets to sign him as their franchise quarterback. It didn't happen, but I'll take it almost a decade later.
Fun fact: Tyrod Taylor was drafted before I was born. He was drafted 3 months before I was born. So yeah,
Wow.
Tyrod Taylor. He's made his way
Now
around.
that stat sounds a little bit more shocking to people than I think it should because we remember him starting out with the Bills in 2015. It's like
Yeah.
no one remembers his first 4 years because he basically didn't exist. He never started a game
Uh huh.
with the Ravens. So I think that makes us all feel a little bit older than we
Yeah.
really are because we think, oh, a guy who started in 2015
Uh
is
huh.
a like that makes it seem like you're 10 years old, but no, it was 2011 is when he was drafted. But I was thinking about something with quarterback age earlier. I realized that Dylan Gabriel is going to be 25 by the end of the season. And when I
Oh,
realized that, I was like, oh my God, he's so old. And I was like, wait, he was
yeah.
born after me. So I guess I'm old and gray as well.
Yeah.
If I were drafted now, I would be like an old prospect.
Well, what are you,
No one would
24?
want
You'd
me.
be younger than Tyler Shock, who was just drafted.
I turned 25 exactly a month ago. So
Okay, you
yeah,
just turned 25. Okay, so
yeah,
Tyler Shuck is 26 and he's a rookie quarterback. So you could potentially fit into that class. I mean, what position
yeah.
you
He
play is
he
still
gives
up
me
in the
he
air.
gives me some hope. There was Brandon Whedon as well. What was he? I think he was 28 when he was a
Yeah,
rookie.
there's gonna be a
29. He was 29 when he was a
wow.
rookie. So I got a few years thanks to Brandon Whedon, and he was a first round pick. So I still have a chance.
You still have a chance to chase that NFL draft. I remember when Tyrod was starting games with the Texans in 2021, with David Culley as their head
Yeah,
coach.
one of the Jets' 4 wins that season was
Yeah.
against him.
Oh, I
John
remember that
Franklin
game.
Myers had the
Yeah,
touchdown.
JFM Rex. I remember those Texans teams were so bad. Like we talk about the 2020, 2019 Jets, not even 2019 because they won 7 games, but like those teams being bad. The Texans with David Culley, Lovie Smith, and it goes back to my point that rebuilds don't take forever because the Texans were in the playoffs and won their division just a couple years ago. And I don't know if they found their franchise guy in CJ Stroud, but he's done enough to keep them competitive year in and year out. We'll close with this funny comment from Billy, who says, "We have shirts older than you guys at home." Realize that.
Probably combined, both you and
Yeah,
me.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there is a listener, one of the 617 people watching us live, who have a shirt that's older than 39 years old.
Yeah.
That could be, definitely that's worthy of a conversation.
I mean, when is that? 86?
Yeah,
Jets made the
has to
playoffs
be.
in 86, right?
The Jets, let me think of yeah, they had to have. That whole the Jets, I think they did. I mean, I still haven't been alive to you've been alive to see the Jets in a playoff game. I mean, you haven't been a true diehard to see them in a playoff game.
I have
Um,
not, but I did see it. I do remember it. So
Yeah, the Jets secured the AFC's wild card spot with a 10-6 record in '86. So yeah, they were in the playoffs 39 years ago. It's crazy thing. Joe Walton was the head coach at the time. So you got all those guys: Joe Walton, Bruce Coslett, Parcells, of course. Herm, Rex, man, this team has had so many head coaches. It's crazy compared to like the Steelers or even a team like the Ravens when you
yeah, I
look at
realized
them.
this recently. The Ravens have had 3 coaches in their
That
history.
is crazy. Because Harbaugh's been there for around 20 years, like the same amount of time that Tomlin has been with the Steelers. So jeez, yeah. So Harbaugh. I mean, I couldn't even. I'm not even gonna pretend like I can name the other 2 coaches who were there in Baltimore. But that is it's a crazy fact. Meanwhile, the Jets have had 3 coaches in the past 10 years.
In this decade, they've
Yeah,
had 3 coaches.
Exactly. Anyways, fun show, my man. Great getting to talk Jets with you. As always, you rooting for a win on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. Baltimore win would be pretty good. So I think I'll root for this one. I'm not going to root for any losses. It's just a matter of like,
Yeah.
am I pointing my eyes at the screen or am I like actively cheering for a victory? That's really the dilemma with this
Yeah.
team this year.
Definitely. He's Michael Nania of Jets X Factor. I'm Connor Long saying thank you all for joining us right here on NY Flight Jets Talk. Have a great rest of your evening. And as always, JTS, baby. Jets, Jets, Jets. Peace out, folks.